Well, hello, my real estate friends. I hope you're doing well. Melissa English here. So, listen, I just left a closing. It's a Friday. Listen, it's drizzly outside. It's gray. It's gloomy. Lord knows I did not want to get dressed, get out of the house, and go to that closing. I didn't want to have to pick up my sign and my lockbox and all that stuff, but we do it anyway because we got to show up and be super excited for our clients. It's a big day for them, right? So, I'm going to the close and I'm on my way and I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about my YouTube friends and I'm like, I need to share with my YouTube friends how I'm making money right now, how I'm getting listings, and how I'm able to actually use those same clients as buyers to get some stuff on the buy side, and how I'm kind of commingling everything together. Commingle is not a good word for real estate agent. Let me not say that. Let's say how I mix it all from the buy side, the sell side, and how I do it in our crazy market and everything that we're going through right now, who I target. And this is my client that I target, and I spend my money, energy, efforts, all the things. I spend it on this one type of client. Now, let me tell you, if you've taken the boot camp with me, you know there's 17 different types of buyers and sellers, okay? Depending on your market, where you live, what's going on in our real estate market with the rates and all the things, it's going to depend upon who you should be targeting. However, this client that I'm going to talk to you about today, this is going to work for any market in any state, in any city, doesn't matter. Okay. Now, you do have to learn a few things in order to look for this type of client and work with them and that kind of thing. But I'm going to tell you what you got to learn. And we're going to cover it all right here today. So if you're cool with that and you want to learn that, go ahead and give the video a like, hit subscribe. Let's be great real estate friends because I got some really good ones coming up and I want to share them with you so that I don't get lost in the YouTube world universe and I just float away and you don't see me anymore. Go ahead and hit subscribe. You're going to be glad you did. All right, so cool. So let's talk about this. You ready? This type of client I am talking about is investors. Okay, now listen. I got my real estate license when I was 19 years old. Freaking didn't know what I was doing, had no clue. I just knew I needed to make some money and I needed to make it fast. During that time in my career, I went after first-time home buyers. And what I did, because I was a first-time home buyer, right? I'm 19. I know nothing. I had never bought a house before. I didn't understand any of it. Okay. So I needed to go and kind of be a chameleon with the type of client that I was. Right. And so, I always say, and I talk about that in the boot camp, if you are, depending on who you are as a buyer or as a seller, that's really who you need to target. Right. But not all markets are great for that. Right. So like today in our market right now, as of recording, what are we at? September 6th, 2024. First time home buyers, it's a tough market for them. Right. So, with rates and inflation and everything else that's going on in our universe, it's just tough. But I was hitting it, man. And let me tell you, that first year I was closing out at least once a week. But what I did is I got really, really good with a specific type of loan. I got with my lender, walked in her office, knowing nothing. And I'm like, teach me the least expensive way somebody can buy a house right now. Who do I need to look for? And that predominantly was an FHA loan. And so I learned that they needed to have 3% down. However, they could use their 401k to kind of use that to give them that 3% down or 3.5%, whatever it was. And then I kind of looked at like what the income limits were and all of that, right? So I got really good with the FHA loan and I went after those types of clients. And how I did that was I found property. I knew what my rental market was in that area. And I knew what these first-time home buyers were paying in rent. And during that time, I want to say like a 2-bedroom apartment was around $850. Okay, I know it's crazy now, but anyway, it's about $850. Okay. Average sales price for a 3-bedroom townhome was like $140 and some change. Okay, so that mortgage on that 3-bedroom townhome would put them about $900 a month all in, which is a good deal, right? Definitely a good deal. Now, during that time, it was normal market. So fast forward some, I approached a lot of these people that were renting and that were paying between $850 to $950 a month. Okay. And you can do the same thing right now in our market because the rent is always going to go with the real estate. Okay. So I went after these first time home buyers or renters that had never bought before. And I said, and I communicated in a way that they would understand. And how I did that was I simply would just be like, hey, Bob, what are you paying in rent by chance? I don't know, Melissa. I'm probably paying about $850 a month. Okay, cool. So did you know that they just built some brand new townhomes like right down the road, and you could get a 3-bedroom townhome for like $900 a month? So you pay like $50 more a month, but you own it. And you get another bedroom and it's yours and you can go and paint it and decorate it and do all the things. I spoke their language, things that they would understand. And during my time in my life as a 19-year-old, never owning anything at that point, that spoke to me. I would buy that, right? So I'm gonna communicate it to them in that kind of a way, right? Dude, I was closing one a week. It was phenomenal. And I just went after that one type of client. Found out what they were paying in rent, found a property that would match that rent amount, and we closed. And I was banging them out once a week. With that, I kind of came along and started getting introduced to investors because a lot of the properties that we were looking at and that we were buying, I was going to close and seeing the same guy here, over and over. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, how do you own all this stuff? He's like, well, I invest. And I'm like, cool. I want to know about investing, knowing nothing. Okay. And I'm like, can I just kind of follow you around, see what you're up to, see what you're doing? Yeah. He's like, yeah, sure. He's like, I'm working on this project over here. If you want to come over here, just meet me. I'll show you around, let you see. And so I got to get in there kind of, it was like in the beginning stages of him flipping this house. And there was construction stuff everywhere and all this stuff. And then in 30 days, he calls and he's like, hey, we're done with that house if you want to go by and take a look at it. I went by there. It was like 9 days. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, you did all of that work in 30 days. He had like this whole system and this whole routine and everything was good. And it was like just mind blowing to me. I don't know. Probably by this time I was probably like 22-ish. So I was a few years in. Nevertheless, fast forward some time, I got to really understand him. I wanted to learn everything that he knew. I wanted to learn that. So I shadowed him. I watched his properties. I asked him if I could go to the auction with him. I asked him if I could just, just kind of, if I could just really just follow him around. And he was like, yeah, cool, whatever. And so eventually we built a partnership, a business partnership, to where I started kind of helping him find properties on the MLS. Because here's the deal. Most investors, they don't necessarily just work with one agent, right? They have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, doesn't matter. Whoever brings them the best deal of the week is what they're buying and what they're working with, right? So he started telling me, look, if you can find me something with 40% equity, I'll buy it. And I'm like, 40% equity? What does that even mean? Like, what does that even mean? So I did some research and I learned that if a house during that time, could sell on the market for, I'm going to use round numbers, okay? Because I'm not very good with math and without a calculator, but let's say we fix it up and it's all pretty and we could put it on the market for $100,000. That means his all-in budget needs to be 60 grand so that he can make 40 on the deal. That's a 40% return for him, right? So if he needs to be all in at 60, that then means that needs to include all his repair costs, the cost that it costs to buy the house, right? And all the everything else. So let's just say he buys a house for $40,000, puts 20 in it, he's 60 in. So he's 60 all in. There's 4, and he could sell it on market for 100. So there's a $40,000 gross profit. Okay, that's not net. That's a gross profit. $40,000 range. He still has to pay taxes. He still has to pay agent fees and all that, right? So with that being the case, I got into my FMLS and my Georgia MLS. And let me tell you something, I started looking because I'm like, there has to be properties out here that I can give him what he's looking for. And now I would spend 2 or 3 days literally going and running almost a CMA on every single one, especially, and you can do this right now in today's market. You can do this right now. You go into your MLS, you look for the properties that have been reduced in price, and you start looking at the trend. Did that seller reduce last week, the week before, the week before that, the week before that? They are motivated. So what you do, you call that listing agent. And this is predominantly what I did. Call that listing agent. Hey, look, I noticed that they're reducing a lot. Are they like in a hurry? Listing agent, yeah, they're in a big hurry. We got to get this house sold. Okay, listen, I know right now they're asking $55,000 for this house. Would they take 40 all cash? I think they might take that. Go ahead and submit an offer and let's see what we can do. Right? So I call my buddy, my new friend investor, and I'm like, Joe, pull up 123 Smith Street. He pulls it up. I'm like, look, ARV on this one's about 100 grand. I think we can get it for 40. You probably had to put about 20, 25 worth of work in it. Do you want to submit an offer? You know what Joe's going to say? Investors, they don't care about anything but numbers. That is all they care about. They don't want to sit there and sit on the phone with you for 45 minutes. They don't want any of that. Give them bullet point. What are the numbers? And that's it. That's all they care about at the end of the day. He says, yeah, heck yeah. Go ahead. Let's put it together. Let's submit the offer. So I write it up, send it to him. He signs it. Boom. Seller accepts it. We go through a little bit of negotiation, tiny bit. Seller accepts it. Done. I go to my first investor closing. And I was like, daggone, that took like 2 days worth of work. I didn't even have to take him to look at the house. I didn't have to like talk much to him really. He kind of told me what he wanted, and then I found what he was looking for, presented it, wrote it up, submitted it, done, right? We go to close. Well, guess what? Now he's like, look, any agent that brings me deals like this, I need a listing agent, and I want you to be the listing agent on it. So anything you bring me that closes, that we buy, I want you to list it. Now, here's the deal though. Most investors, they want a deal on commission, right? So if they're, because look, this is a quantity kind of deal, right? Most investors, if you get good ones, some of them will buy 10, 15, 20 houses a year. Plus you list them. That's another 10, 15, 20 houses a year. That's 40 transactions. That one investor, look, you can stay busy just with that. So, and you do cut out a lot of the extra stuff that you might have to do with like a retail buyer or a retail seller. And by that, I mean, they don't care about listing presentations. They don't need a net to seller. They know how to run their own numbers. All of that, you don't really have to do any of that. So it's kind of like you're doing bulk work, if that makes sense. They're, for the most part, pretty easy. To me, the most easiest client to work with. There's not emotion involved in that, okay? So fast forward, after doing several, I then start getting comfortable going to the auctions myself, by myself. So I go to the auction, I go with him sometimes, or, and I just start kind of, now I built that confidence and I can kind of start having the conversation with investors. I now kind of know like what that equity position is. And I know how to kind of start having that conversation with them. I start introducing myself to all the investors at the auction. Hey, my name's Melissa. I'm an investor-friendly realtor. Here is my card. You need CMAs ran? I got you. You need to go and take a look at this one? I got you, right? And I'm just getting my name out there, letting them know this is my target. You are my target. You are my focus. I am all in this with you. I totally get it. Here's what I quickly realized. Just like all buyers and sellers are not equal, just like all real estate agents are not equal, or lenders, none of us are all equal, right? We all do different things. Investors are the same way, okay? What their goals are going to be completely different. So I quickly realized each investor has his own money goal. Whereas I had this one that wanted a 40% split or needed at least 40%, in the bag, which is pretty tough to get right now. It has been tough to get that kind of number. But even during that time, I was finding investors that were cool with 10%, 15%. Those are a whole heck of a lot easier to find. They're on your MLS. You don't even have to go off market. They're sitting right there in your MLS right now. If you're willing to take time and do CMAs to see how much money's actually in those deals, they're in there. We'll talk about that in just a second. But I also then found investors that they didn't want to fix the house and flip it. They were wanting just rental property. They're like, help me build my portfolio. Sure, if you find a piece of crap house that needs work, sure, I'll fix it and flip it, but I'm going to rent it. So if you find a house that's actually in good condition, I don't really mind paying market rent if I can rent the house out. Like if there's not an issue with that with the HOA, or if it's in a good school district, and if the numbers make sense. Numbers make sense. Numbers. It's all about numbers. But it's figuring out, what does your investor want? Do they want to flip and rent? Do they just want something that they'll pay fair market value for? If the house is, can go on the market for 100,000, they'll pay 100,000 as long as the rental part makes sense for them. Same with these investors that they only want to flip and fix. What is that number that they need? And again, some of them were 10, some were 15, some were 20, and then I had my few at 40. So I had like a span of investors. So, dude, I just started hitting the MLS. I was in that MLS every single day, and I would, I got faster with it and started running CMAs to see like what the ARV could be after repair value, fixing up the crap house. What could it be on the market after it's repaired? If you don't know what that means, ARV. So, and just going through the numbers. So now I got like 10 investors in my email. So anytime I found something that was a 10% equity split, I emailed all of them. I said, here's one at 10%. Here's one at 25. Here's one at 30. I just spoke to this listing agent. I think we can get this one for 40. Who wants to look at it? Who wants to submit? Sometimes nobody would respond. And then sometimes 3 or 4 of them would email me back. I want that. Right? So here's the thing. You can go and look for the client all day long, or you can find the client, know what they want, and then just kind of build your business around that. All right. And there's a couple different ways to do this. Now, I genuinely love construction. I love the build. I love working with investors. I love the fact that they make a not so pretty house look better and improve that community. I just love the whole thing about it, right? I love all of it. I love to invest. I like to fix stuff up and flip it and sell it for a profit, make a great home, an even better home. I love doing that. So now I do it today, but this is kind of how I got there. So being that I can have that conversation with them about equity and where they want to be and their numbers. And here's the thing. You might be thinking, Melissa, I have never worked with an investor before or anything like that. I'm going to share a story with you really quick. Okay. To the closing that I had today, let me tell you how I got this investor. Here's the deal. And this is top secret, not top secret, but like, this is like, you really need to know this. I don't call for sale by owners. I don't call expireds. I don't look for retail clients. I really don't. That's just not my business plan. It's not really fun to me, all of that. But if you're good at that, by all means, you keep doing you, boo. But here's the thing. Okay. Look, if I get friends and family, I will represent them, of course. Absolutely. I'm not going to turn business down. Are you kidding? No, I'm not going to do that. But I primarily target investors. So, I go to the local auctions. I look for them on Facebook groups. I look for them. Sometimes I'll just go into the MLS, find a deal, and then I start just emailing people on the side of that, like, like in the Facebook group. So Facebook groups has all these investor groups, right? There's investors. So if you type in Facebook and you go my city investor group, boom, there it is, loaded with them. Now, some of them are, just kind of poking around. There's going to be other agents in there and some that are just not serious, thinking about investing, but haven't pulled the trigger yet, kind of thing. But there's some good ones in there. You just have to kind of filter to figure out who's for real. You know what I mean? So if I go and I search into MLS, and I found this like gym house that I know is worth a lot of money, and the money that could be made on it with the appropriate repairs, I might go through my little group, message them individually. Are you interested in one? I've got one. Kind of what's your numbers? What are your numbers? What are you looking for? And they'll tell you. A lot of times they'll tell you, I can't spend more than 200 all in, 200,000. They'll say, I've got an unlimited budget. They'll say, I can't, I need to keep it under 100,000, all of that. Okay. And then there's some that they want to invest. They're just really scared. They've never done it before and they don't know how to start. I could do a separate video on that because you can show them how to invest. You can show them how to go get the money to borrow it. They don't even have to use their own money. You can show them how to borrow the money and invest it. And I can do a separate video on that. If you want to know that, just let me know in the comments because I don't want to get off topic because I feel like I'm already getting off topic. I already forgot what I was going to say. No, I didn't. Okay. This guy. So let me tell you, this closing I had today, this guy right here. I would drive home every day and I kept seeing this for sale by owner sign in this guy's yard. I didn't know it was a guy, but anyway. I kept seeing for sale by owner sign. I'm like, what the crap? Month after month after month. And I'm like, it's a super cute house. Like, I don't understand. Like, why is it still for sale by owner? So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to text him. I didn't call him. I just texted him. I texted him a screenshot of my business card. Okay. And then I said, hey, which my business card says investor friendly realtor on it. It does. Okay. I have two types of cards. But anyway, I didn't know it was an investor. And it ended up being an investor. So let me just tell you, I texted him and I said, hey, my name's Melissa. I'm a local real estate agent. I keep passing your house that's for sale by owner. And I want to know, like, what's the problem? Like, I see that you're only asking like $250 for it. That's fair market. It's a nice house. It looks like it runs with comps in the neighborhood. Like, what's the problem? He texted me back. That's what he said. He said, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. I've been trying to sell it for 6 months. It will not sell. I've gotten a few showings, but it's just not going to sell. I'm like, cool. Well, okay, part 2. So I had a little power surge right there. But anyway, let's go. Hopefully the internet stays put. It won't freeze. Oh no, I'm freezing. Anyway. All right. So let me tell you. So I was texting him, right? And he's like, oh, I don't know why it's going to sell, why it won't sell. This on there. I'm like, well, cool. Well, was this your personal house? And he's like, no, I buy a few here and there and fix them up and sell them. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. Anyway, I said, well, I am an agent, okay, and I would be more than happy to try to help you on this. I primarily work with investors. I've worked with investors pretty much my entire career for the most part. And he's like, I appreciate it, but I've got an agent. I'm pretty loyal with that agent. And I appreciate that. You know what I mean? I'm like, heck yeah, man, that's awesome. Because, again, it's rare for an investor just to have one agent. It is. And they could be really loyal to you and love your deals, and you just are like their good luck charm and they're cool with that, but they're still doing other stuff. Okay. So never think that you're the only one, because you're not. And that's okay, because a lot of times they have enough to keep you busy. But anyway, so he's like, I've got a guy, I'm pretty loyal. I'm like, that's awesome. No big deal. I'm not going to step on anybody's toes or anything like that. I said, I'm looking for some buyers. And I said, do you mind if I go to the house and video it to sort of like see if I can get it out on social media to see if I can get any potential interest. And he's like, sure, go ahead. So he gave me the lockbox code. I went over there. It literally took 20 minutes to video the house. I posted it on Facebook right now if you want to go look at it. I posted the house. Okay, so this is part 3 now, or take 3. My third little piece, because Michael pulled up and then the dog started barking. So anyway, let me see where I left off. Okay. I went in, I did the house tour, right? I think I uploaded it here on YouTube, Facebook, whatever. Anyway, I ended up sending him one of the links. I said, well, here's the link of the video, just so you know, it's here. I did have to get him to sign a little disclosure that it was okay that I went and videoed his house. All right. If you need that, just let me know in the comments. I'll send it over to you. It was really simple. I just typed something up in Word. Anyway, he was like, cool, thank you. It looks great, whatever. I was like, I'll let you know if I have anybody with any interest. Fast forward, I forgot about him. I mean, I just genuinely did. I forgot about him. I forgot I did the video. Like, it just, life goes on. And then I later date get a text. I'm in the middle of a Home Depot. I'm not really sure. I don't really remember what I was doing. I think I was working on a flip myself and getting some material for that. I get a text and it's him. And he's like, hey. It's like 3 months later. He's like, hey. I'm like, hi. He said, I still haven't sold that house. Do you have any buyers? I'm like, no, I don't have any right now that fit for that particular property. And he's like, well, I had a lot of agents call me wanting to list my house. And I do have my one agent that I like to work with. He was like, but you did more than anybody has done as far as going in and video in the house. And so if you want to talk about it, I can meet you at the house tomorrow about 2:00. We can talk about listing it because I got to get it sold. I'm like, heck yeah. Yeah. So I meet him there, fast forward, meet him there. And we walk the house and I'm like, this is a great house. There's no reason why it shouldn't sell. I said, we do need to do professional photography. We do need to do some digital staging, which I do digital staging on the side in my Etsy shop. So if you have listings that are sitting, especially if they're vacant, dress them up, put some furniture. Like, you like that? That's a whole digital stage back here. Dress it up, make it look nice. It's going to stand out a little bit better online with the competition. Side note, I'll leave that in the link in the description or link below, whatever, if you're interested. Okay, so fast forward, I get the professional pictures done. We do the digital staging. We do the whole thing, get it on the MLS, get a couple showings. Granted, now keep in mind, he had had this on for sale by owner for like 6 months. And he had it on Zillow that he was willing to pay a buyer's agent. So there was none of that. He had just, he's an investor and was fine with selling it on by himself, right? Make a long story short, 4 days later, after being on the market, we get a full price, all cash offer to close in 18 days. I had that house listed, professional photography done, on the market, closed all within the same month. Talk about impressive. He was so impressed. He was like, heck yeah, man. He's like, I got another one that's been sitting and I've got it listed with another agent, but that's expiring in a couple of weeks. I want you to take a look at that. And I'm like, look, I'm not going to go to the property. I'm not going to do any of that. You've got it listed. You're in an agreement with the agent, because I'm all about my agent friends, and I try to have their back, just like I hope they have my back, right? We have to protect each other. And I'm not about let me step on somebody's toes. You know what I mean? But he later explained that this particular agent that he had been working with was kind of getting out of the business and started working a different job and wasn't really into it anymore. And you do get the burnout syndrome. I've been there, for sure. Burnout is for real in our business. So anyway, I took what he said, and I'm like, okay. So he calls me about it. Listing had expired with the last agent. He calls me and he's like, can you meet me over here? Let's take a look. So I did that, met him, we went through the whole thing, right? Professional photos, digital staging, the whole thing, went through all of that. and then he calls, and that's the one we closed on today. And now he has a personal house that's like 500,000 up that he wants me to sell because he is buying one from a friend of his off market. Okay. So I tell you all of that for a few different reasons. Don't be scared to, like, you know, approach this particular scenario. Again, I didn't know it was an investor. It just happened to be an investor. But investors are very easy to work with. Don't be intimidated by them. Don't be scared to approach them. You just need to be good at something, right? So find out what it is that you're good at. And if that is running CMAs, like, you want to be able to provide some kind of value to them for free. And that needs to be across the board, whether you're working with a retail buyer, retail seller, investor, whoever you're representing, you always want to give them value, something for free, right? And you're going to build the know, like, and trust factor by doing that and kind of getting your foot in the door. Now, in this particular situation, I had gone and did the video for him for free. And I just did a walkthrough tour, talked about the property, promoted it a little bit. I didn't pay for any ads or anything. I just did it. And that was value to him. And he appreciated that, right? So I got the listing from it, got several listings on, and then, he has actually called me a few times on a few buy sides, but I've just been busy, so I haven't been able to do that. Anyway. And then the other listing that I have right now is also by an investor, different dude, met him a different kind of a way. So if you are wanting to do this, if you're good at, like, videoing, then maybe this is going to be your next strategy for the next month. Maybe you call all the for sale by owners in your market and you're like, hey, can I come and video your house? Do you mind? And I try to promote it to get a buyer. That might be your foot in the door to build some kind of rapport with them, to build some value. Or if you were just strictly wanting to go after these investors, these types of clients, you might be thinking, well, how do I find them? How do I start? Well, auctions are going to be your number one way. Get some business cards, show up, get some business cards, maybe even on the back of the business card have, hey, free CMAs, right? And they love that stuff because this is how they're running a CMA. They're running a CMA off Zillow, okay, and off, like, because they don't have MLS access. So they have other agents that'll do it for them, but that's how those agents get in the door with them. So provide some sort of a service to them. If you want to target first-time investors, maybe you put together like a little seminar of how they can go get hard money loans and become an investor. There's so many different ways. You just have to figure out what you're good at and what you enjoy doing the most and what value you can provide. And you can do that. You could simply just go through the MLS and find deals and then private message investors that are in Facebook groups. Look, it doesn't matter if it's 900% interest or if it's this or if it's that. Investors are going to buy. They're going to buy, they're going to sell in any market. It doesn't matter if they're buying low. So like right now, right? So we're in a weird market with our rates and elections and stuff. So they're having to sell a little low. That means they just have to buy a little bit lower than what they normally do. But as long as those numbers somewhat can match up, they're good, right? And then there's, of course, the investors that are looking just straight for rental property. So there's that whole portfolio. At the end of the day, you can find them. They do meetups. There's, like, in some of these groups, they have like investor meetups where they meet once a month. Just go and introduce yourself. There's going to be other agents there. Get to know that agent. Go to lunch together. Become friends with that agent. You guys collaborate. Figure out how you could work together and strategize. There's so much business just working with investors that it can be a full-time job, and you might end up liking it so much that you don't do it just on a down market, but you do it on the better markets too. Totally can happen. Now, if you need some more help, like as far as like research and CMAs and all that kind of stuff, and want me to sort of do a little video with that, let me know in the comments so that I know, kind of where you are. If you're currently, going after investors and working with investors, but want to learn more about that, let me know in the comments so I know what kind of content to create for you and what's helping. But in any case, I'm going to wrap it up. Now I'm going to go edit this video, put all 3 pieces together. If you haven't already subscribed, I hope you do. I hope you got an aha moment. If you did, please give the video a like, and I will see you next week. I love you. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. I will talk to you soon. Let's get out there. Let's get it.